In this video, we discuss the mathematical or computational reasoning core requirement, which, as we can see here on our core curriculum checklist, is a course that's typically completed during freshman year. Just by looking very quickly at the examples of the courses that fulfill the math or computational reasoning requirement, we see that there are a broad array of options, everything from calculus to computer science, to even some non-calculus based math courses. And the choice of which course you use to fulfill your math or computational reasoning requirement, which for the rest of this video we'll just call the math requirement for simplicity, is dictated in many cases strongly by your planned curricular path here at Fordham, particularly if you are a science, STEM, or pre-health student. Now, before we can discuss what specific course you should take in the fall and how to find out which course that would be, we need to first discuss the kinds of courses that you're likely to take given your curricular plans. And in the spirit of breaking things down into bite-sized pieces, we'll look at two distinct populations of students: what we're calling non-science or STEM and non-pre-health students, which include psychology majors who are not pre-health, and on the other hand, STEM, which, if you're not familiar with the acronym, stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and pre-health students, and that includes psychology majors who are pre-health. So on our left side of our chart here, we have four criteria that will help us understand where to start with the math requirement. The first thing to know is a math placement exam required? And if you're coming in this category here saying, hey, I think I want to be an English major, a history major, an economics major, a communications department major, there is no math placement exam required. Likewise, if you're in that category, the coursework that you would need to fulfill the math core is not calculus-based. And you might start to wonder, well, given that, what are some typical first semester courses that students in that category take? And those two courses are finite mathematics, which is Math 1100, and structures of computer science, which is SISC 1100. And everyone in this category is eligible to take either one of these two courses in the fall. There's no required minimum scores, no placement test, no special requirements. They're open to everyone. Now let's look at our second main population, what's called here the STEM, science, or pre-health population, which includes psychology majors who are pre-health. Is a math placement exam required? Yes, and you should have received information sent to your Fordham email account about the math placement exam. If you're watching this video and you fall into this category and you haven't completed the math placement exam, you need to do so right away and contact your SVAC to let them know that you've done so. Most students complete the math placement exam in May. The reason that there's a math placement exam is because the coursework that is required for students in this population of majors is calculus-based, and the math placement exam is intended to place you somewhere on the spectrum between pre-calculus and more advanced calculus-type courses, depending on what is required for your major. In this category, the typical first semester courses are much broader. So some students will place into pre-calculus because they're not ready for calculus yet. Some will place into Calculus 1, which is numbered Math 1206. Others will place into Calculus 2. Students who are computer science majors may take discrete structure, SISC 1400, or SISC 1600 and 1610, which is the Computer Science 1 course with the lab, again, depending on their curricular plans. Some students may even take more than one of these courses in the fall, given their curricular plan. So a 3-2 engineering student with a computer science major may be taking both Calculus 1 as well as the Computer Science 1 with lab course. And for placement criteria, our pre-health deans will use the math placement exam along with your high school courses and grades, and your planned major or program at Fordham. And you will be able to see your math placement result and the appropriate course into which you're being placed when you are able to see your degree works guidance for the first time, as long as you've taken the math placement exam within the prescribed period. Now that we've discussed the kinds of courses you'll be taking to fulfill the math core and how to qualify for those courses, we can make our discussion more specific by talking about how you'll find out exactly which math course to take in the fall based on your planned curriculum. To start out, we'll look at a 3-2 engineering student who is a computer science major. This is the same student who we mentioned in the previous segment. As we said before, this student has taken the math placement exam and has placed into Math 1206 Calculus 1, and because they are also a computer science major, they are also taking CISC 1610 and CISC 1600, the Computer Science 1 with lab. They need both of these courses in the fall, even though either one fulfills the math reasoning core, because they are 3-2 engineering and a computer science major. Now we'll look at the DegreeWorks placement guidance for a student who is a BS degree in biological sciences and in the pre-health program. We can see that they have been placed into Math 1206, which is Calculus 1, based on their math placement exam, high school performance, high school grades, and the like. So the bottom line here with the science, STEM, pre-health curriculum in terms of the math requirement is that as long as you've taken the math placement exam and we have your accurate intentions on file, so your degree work shows that you're a pre-health, it shows that your intended major is biological sciences or chemistry or physics, your degree works registration guidance will recommend the appropriate courses for you. So you don't need to worry as long as that information is appropriately on your record. We'll quickly take a look at the DegreeWorks placement guidance for a student who is thinking of being a history major, this undeclared with an interest, that's what the parentheses mean, in history. We can see that because this student is not science, STEM, or pre-health, the system is recommending that the student register for Math 1100, CISC 1100, or a core course. You can see what's implied here is that the system is giving a slight preference to taking the math core in the first semester. This is because, as you'll see in later videos, the math course is the prerequisite for the science courses, the non-science major core science courses that follow. So it can be a good idea to complete this math or computer science course in the fall so that you're able to start on the science core in the spring or in a later semester. Now that you know how your planned curriculum may affect the math computational reasoning course that you should take in the fall, we can discuss how any AP or IB math scores that you may have will affect what you should take in the fall. We just looked at this student's DegreeWorks guidance, which had assigned them to take Math 1100, CISC 1100, or a core course in the fall. And we see here that that's because this student still has to do the math computational reasoning requirement. But what would happen if this student had taken, say, AP Calculus AB and earned a score of 4 or 5? Let's take a look. Now we can see here this student has AP Calculus AB credit that fulfills their math computational reasoning core. You can see the green check mark there. What that will do is it'll remove that recommendation and say instead register for an additional core class. So this student doesn't need to worry about taking a math course in the fall. They can simply take another core class and that's it. Although we'll talk more about APs and IBs in that module later on, it's important to note here that there are 3 APs and IBs that fulfill the math computational reasoning core with their required score. That's AP Calculus AB, a score of 4 or 5, AP Calculus BC with a score of 4 or 5, and IB HL Mathematics, a score of 6 or 7. These scores would also fulfill the requirements for pre-health, and some of the science majors. But it's going to be important to check your degree works page to see if higher level math courses, like Calculus 2 or higher, are required for your planned major or program. If you're not presently declared in that major, you can use the what if function if you're considering a different one to see if higher level math would be required. For example, in the requirements on degree works for a BS in chemistry, not only Calculus 1, but Calculus 2 is required. So a student who had AP Calculus or IB Mathematics credit would still have to take a higher level math course, Calculus 2, for their major. Now for the easy part of this video, searching for the appropriate courses on my.fordham. We'll return to our familiar Browse Classes screen, select the appropriate term from the drop-down box, and click Continue. We always select Advanced Search. Remember that because you are taking these courses to fulfill the core at Fordham, you should select Fordham College Rose Hill under College. Let's say that we're looking for Math 1100, which is finite mathematics. We'll start typing in math here, and then the course number, 1100. That's all we need to do, and then we can click Search. We can see here that some of the classes meet on the 2-day-a-week schedule, some on the 3-day-a-week schedule, and if we look at the schedule layout for this course, there is no recitation component. It's just this 2 days a week for 75 minutes or 3 days a week for 50 minutes. Let's try to look now for Calculus 1, which is Math 1206. We just replace 1100 with 1206 in the course number, since this is also a math department course. We'll search again. We can see here that there is both a lecture and recitation component for the Calculus 1 courses. In some cases, there are different instructors for the different components. Like for example, this one, RO3, has the lecture Tuesday, Fridays, 11:30 to 12:45, and the recitation on Wednesdays from 11:30 to 12:20. But as we can see, there is only one CRN. There is no separate CRN for the Calculus 1 recitation. As we conclude this video, it's important that we review some important guidelines for what to do if you plan to switch into or out of a STEM, science, or pre-health curriculum. If you are not presently in a STEM, science, or pre-health curriculum and you want to switch into one, you must inform your SFAC right away so that you can go back in and update your freshman survey. Once you do so, you would then receive information by email about the math placement exam, which, of course, you should then also take right away. Within 5 business days of your completion of the math placement exam, your degree works will show your updated registration guidance. Similarly, if you are currently in a STEM, science, or pre-health course of study, and you want to switch out of it to a regular non-science curriculum, you must inform your SFAC right away so you can update your freshman survey. Within 5 days of your update, your degree works will show your updated registration guidance. That's it for this video.